Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Friday. Welcome to welcome to March 1st. I hope it is starting off feeling fresh and feeling new for you. Definitely feel something different in the air personally. And I am eager to see how it unfolds. Indeed. All right, so let's see what we got here today. Welp, that's that. Something fresh, something new. Wheel of Fortune, wonderful. That's a 10, so definitely closing up some cycle, bringing some cycle to a close or an ending, and gearing up for something new if it hasn't already begun. I'm sensing this energy of kind of like an overlap of, I don't know. I don't even know if that is truly what gets to be, but that's what I just sense real strong in my spirit. Sort of liken it to how even right now, or I'll say where I am, right? It's clearly still winter. We're still in, well, now it's March, but we're not quite out the woods of winter yet. But it's already starting to kind of smell like spring, feel like spring. It's even been a bit more rainy. I'd say it's been more rainy than it's been snowy. And of course, this is a skewed perspective because I live in the Northeast, so this may not be the case universally or globally or even nationally, I would say. But just from how just my personal experience, that's what I can liken it to, where it's like tomorrow is going to be like 65 degrees. And that's not a big deal, you know, especially in comparison to certain areas, particularly the West or the South. But for here, that's a big deal. It's strange, you know. Usually you're clawing to get out of winter by this time of year, you know, where you just about had it with the snow or the cold, or you know what I mean? And now it honestly is feeling pretty fresh. Now tomorrow is supposed to rain, but even still, as I said, the temperatures are much milder, as I see it forecasted, even for the next week or so. So I don't know. It's like we're still in one season, but there's like an overlap where we're already moving into something new, even as we're closing up something old. And we are technically still in a full moon phase, energetically, more or less. We haven't hit the new moon yet. So maybe that's the intensity of it, but something feels like an overlap. Like even as something is ending, something new has already begun. When typically, generally, the idea is that you would need to close something out completely before something new begins. I don't know. I don't know why that's coming up that way for me, or even if that's even the case. You know, if that makes spiritual sense or natural sense. But that's what I'm sensing. And of course, we know with the Wheel of Fortune, that's also a matter of destiny. Maybe that's what it is, in time. So it's something about the timelines converging. That's what it probably is, like the overlap. That's what it is. And to that, I don't know if I necessarily have it to speak to I don't really know if I have the wisdom, quite honestly. Well, I should say the knowledge, because the wisdom is a different thing. I could call that in, but I don't know if I have the knowledge per se to speak to why I sense that about time kind of condensing or collapsing into itself. But I think that's the overlapping that that would make a lot of sense, even to why the seasons themselves are seeming to kind of stack up, where it's like, what are we in right now? Is it winter? Is it spring? By the time we get to spring, we'll probably be halfway to summer, Hopefully not, because I'm not looking to speed up time, like not looking to take any to rush the moments of life or the journey. Just I would like to enjoy as much of it as possible. But there's something here about that. I don't know if we're going to talk about it in this reading, but there's that. But the Wheel of Fortune is you closing up a cycle, beginning something new, maybe kind of in tandem as I'm talking about. But definitely some matter of destiny is the focal point with the Wheel of Fortune. Could even be a windfall of abundance, some big money coming in, or just a spree or a gust of good luck, or things just. That's what I definitely could get into, like the humdrum as it is with the seasons, as I speak about from winter to spring, that the humdrum of life as it's been is now on the upswing to things just being more sensational consistently, so not spurts of it, but just like a continuum of satisfaction, so to speak, with the Wheel of Fortune. That's what I'm feeling on the upside for sure. Let's see what we got. Okay, like that, and then okay. Let's see. Okay, well, we got 3 there, but let's just see while we at it, right? Got some good luck on the, that was an out. Got some good luck on the shuffles. We don't want to stop that momentum. Now, do we? So we get to the end of the deck. So let's see what we got here. What's the mystery card? Strength. Okay. Strength, power, might, will, courage. And then the 6 of Wands, the Hermit, and then the Fool card. Recognition and success here with the 6 of Wands. To me, it's given that you could be moving into a new cycle of exposure and even access, particularly with the Hermit card, access to higher knowledge, sacred knowledge. Yeah. Something that's going to put you in a position to, it's like, this is the new beginning right here. And this is with the 6 of Wands, it's always a matter of having definitely triumphed in some way to be moving onward. I feel like it's an end to a beginning type of card as well, where you had to practice some great strength. Agility is what I hear, and courage, most importantly. Definitely courage, and also self-control or discipline, in a word, to acquire this traction of success and recognition for whatever it is that you do. And it's like as you're being celebrated for some, yes, well, I'm getting like you're being celebrated for some very superhuman feat. And now it's like you're walking into some supernatural, what can I call this? Because it's like you're recognized in the streets, and in the earth streets, and in the spiritual streets, or in the natural streets and in the spiritual streets, however you want to see that. But this Hermit card is speaking very prominent to me, how they're kind of coming, they're like almost running into each other, but it's not an aggressive, it's a convergence. That's what it is. Okay. With what? Ascended mastery and your ascended self, or your ascended self as an ascended master, and that coming with a whole new experience of life that you just never have had before, because you've never been privy to this level of knowledge. You've never been this is like to the point of like how can I say it, like having to get used to being a star. Because what I'm seeing with this Hermit card is it's given, like I was feeling like a covering, or like even security with the Hermit and the Six of Wands, like more so a guide, or like, how with security, like particularly with celebrities, they'll walk ahead of them in large crowds to kind of clear the way. Of course, it looks like they're clashing into each other in a sense, but I also see this energy as a reflection of this one. Like, this is where you're coming from, but this is where you're headed, to the point where you may not be able to go very far without a certain heightened level of protection, or maybe just perhaps solidifying that there's nowhere that you do go between the Wheel of Fortune and the Hermit where you aren't protected because of this elevated status of recognition. And even if it's not a matter of like, oh, sunglasses on, somebody might recognize me type of energy, like I'm so famous, is some level of sacredness here, where you're like precious cargo, like you're so highly valued in spirit and in truth to creation, that comes with, it's like when you are a part of the royal family, say like even if you even marry, like say the princesses and stuff, once they even marry into the royal family, having no particular nobility of their own, it's like a whole new world coming into this highly exposed and vulnerable lifestyle that as vulnerable as it is also highly protected, because it has to be. That's the energy I'm getting here. Literally, that's what I'm getting here. Why that gets to be must be a unique thing. It has to be to come up so generally and matter of fact, like, yeah, you're gonna need security or you have spiritual security. That's what I'm really, really getting. Perhaps unbeknownst to you, or maybe not even known to the magnitude of which it truly is, because that's just what's necessary, particularly with this new cycle of evolution that you may be embarking upon. There's a heightened level of responsibility and maybe even activity that either you're going to be engaged in, or just the activity of creation, as I was saying, like that speed up effect, that acceleration effect, where everything is kind of like vibrating in the earth realm. And on one end of the wheel, things may seem chaotic, or they may even be chaotic in some regards, or at least appear to be. And then there's another world where things are accelerating in a more exhilarating way, where windfalls of fortune are happening left and right. And it's not so much a matter of a threat, it's really just triumph, like this card projects, like wins, hella wins, but of course at every experience of a win, it's like there's some call to action connected to it, particularly with the Six of Wands, which are action-oriented cards, but not in a sense where it's like a chore, but it's the unveiling or unfolding or manifestation, even perhaps, of the things that you've already been working towards, the things that have brought you recognition, or the things that you've been working toward to bring to life, perhaps coming online all at once. And it really kind of like filling your hands with things to do and places to go and hats to wear and things to account for more than ever before, because up until now, maybe that's the switch off, is that life has kind of been moving at a very moderate pace, or at least the activity of the expression of your passions have been moving at a very moderate pace. And the turn of this wheel, or this evolution or change, even as I'm saying, like the speed up of time, or this converging of timelines, is that everything is now coming online at once. So it may seem like a whirlwind of events, a whirlwind of experience, but ultimately it's just the evolution of what has already been not only foretold, but fortified by way of your discipline and devotion to it, if that makes sense. It's like you couldn't, in a lot of ways, people that are winning, let's just say it in the present tense, as if it's already here, because clearly it's a matter of ready or not. It's on account of what you've already been preparing for, or even putting into play, like putting into action. You've been doing something to create this experience, but before now, there's probably been more of a trickling effect, or just a very moderate revelation or unfolding of the rewards of your harvest, or the reaping of your sowing, so to speak, because that's just the standard time of life. It's like standard time now moving into like, I don't know what we call, what is that called? Solar time? Celestial time? I just heard a pop when I said solar time. Solar time? Interesting. Maybe so. Hell, we just had the leap day for this leap year yesterday. So perhaps that was the transitional portal of sorts, with the which I definitely spoke about in the message yesterday. So I don't know why spiritually I'm acting so surprised that wouldn't even make sense here and now. But again, that speaks to the like even the, how can I say it, like even my own understanding needing to kind of catch up with destiny, so to speak. You know, it's like you just talked about that yesterday, so of course that would make sense now, but that's how fast things are turning around, like not even realizing that it could be very well the message from yesterday that has kind of projected the energy for today. That quick of a turnaround type of acceleration. That everything you're saying and doing in real time is having a real moment effect on creativity, on creation, as a matter of fact. I hope this is making sense, because I feel it, but I don't know if I'm saying it the way that I feel it. Still, my mind needed to catch up with what my senses are telling me, my spiritual senses more than anything. I think that's what the clash of this is. It's like, that's what this is. Because this, more or less, the Hermit can kind of sometimes represent like intangible forces, like ancestors. To me, ancestors, way showers, guides, lighten the path for you. Like in this case, I often see those energies as, the learning curve shavers that have the hindsight and the foresight to accelerate our journey in exactly the way that I'm speaking of. But sometimes we're not always keen to that transmission. So now it's becoming much more clear. It's like those frequencies are aligning perfectly, like in sync, it seems, as they're coming together this way. And it's going from you leading to now being led or being guided. Well, it's always been that for sure, but having to almost like be led blindly to some degree, to actually seeing very clearly not only the path forward, but who and how and what you're being led in some regard. And it being very new because of that, what do you call it? That new insight and foresight. It's like 360 vision here is what I'm getting the sense of. Whereas it was very three-dimensional to some degree, where you had to trust your senses to kind of tap in otherwise. But really, as I said, not even being completely sure, not having much evidence in the forefront, proactive in the proactive sense of what you had to have the faith and the will and the strength and the courage, the boldness to follow, intuitively. And with this convergence, with this frequency configuration of sorts, I don't even know what to call it, quite honestly. It's like you would follow it willfully, freely, without inhibition, because you have that much more, even though it's fresh and it's new, because you've never been so privy to that vibration at this level of hertz, so to speak. Like, it's been kind of a low streaming frequency, and now I feel like this is like a knob, like the volume's about to be turned up, if it's not already, and maybe that's the speeding up, maybe that's the turn up, maybe that's the condensation or the condensing of the timeline. Like everything is becoming amplified, to the point where there's really no room for interpretation or error, especially when you've already aligned, like tuned your frequency to be tapped in a certain way anyway. It's like when you go from one state to another and you lose the signal for the radio stations in one area, but you just adjust the knob a bit and you tap right in to what is local to that space. This is the energy I'm getting. It's like we're changing frequencies, maybe going at another altitude of understanding, even more than understanding, I would say. But it's at an ascended from an ascended perspective. Mm. And it's still very much internal, because as I say with the Hermit card, it's about that internal compass, but it's something about it being turned up, like surround sound type of energy. And maybe that's the part where it's like you hear it more clearly internally, the directives and the, that transmission. And also you see the translation in your waking life, in your natural world, as the two are more on one accord. It's not so much of like, I get the message, I follow it eventually, if you know you know how it goes. You evolve more with your in your devotion as you become more trustworthy of what you hear and what you sense. But sometimes at first there, which is why spirit kind of has to beat us down, some, not literally, but has to give us a good talking to a lot of times, because sometimes, particularly in the seasons past, the karmic energy that we're sewing up, we weren't really able to hear that well or see that well all the time, because there was so much interference and noise kind of like chopping up that channel. But now, something about now, this shift in frequency, where you're hearing it from the inside, and you're trusting it on site immediately. And also you're putting that information or that intel into action, or expelling it in some way, shape, or form that makes it physical, almost on demand or command as well, which is different from before, where there's what used to be a bit of a lag between what you sense, what you idealize, even what you may even visualize to manifest, and when it actually begins to crystallize in the natural form. There's something about the time that's being shortened here in that process. And it is a new experience, because you're probably going to have to recalibrate your creativity to be mindful of exactly what you are manifesting, lest it become a reality almost instantaneously in some regard. This is where the will, the self-control, the discipline, the devotion, and the courage all were training. Like, you had to kind of find your footing in that. It's like in the remedial class, so to speak, on the remedial level, or let's say the primary level, so to speak, to really kind of flex your creative muscle or that creative intelligence, to build upon it, as a matter of fact, as a student, more or less, before you just go out here, alakazam and abracadabra and everything, and all out of whack and out of order. And I also believe that was the training ground and like the testing ground as to whether or not you could be even trustworthy with what now is becoming an increase in that intel and in those abilities, and in that intellect, that spiritual intellect, which now, because it's such this could be kind of a wild energy to some degree, or just something to get used to in the way that it is expounded now, you would need to be disciplined and wise enough to know exactly how to be led through this evolution, if that makes sense. Not just a student just flying off the hinges, but even wise enough of a student to know that there is an opportunity to be learned a bit more, and on another level now, if that makes sense. It's like you had to become mature as a student to be a student, but not necessarily as a novice, as if you know nothing, but just to kind of know how to adjust to exactly all that you do now know. Like all the information, all the intel, all of the facility now at your fingertips. You know, power ultimately is what I'm getting down to. Like literally having an integration of supreme power and it being magnified in such a way, because it's like one thing when you kind of know you have power, as here with the strength card, and you dabble in it, you play with it, you flex it every now and again, but more or less you fight with it more than anything, because that's what this energy is, like almost a tug of war between your spirit and your natural self, learning how to balance the two. And it's another thing for a spirit to be like, all right, here you go. It's all you now. What you gonna do? Not holistically. It's not like you just left to, you know, destroy yourself or anyone else, but the potency of what you're carrying in some way, shape, or form, it could be unique for everyone, it probably is that powerful that it could. That if you're not grounded in a particular way to be humble to some degree, not humble as in, you know, feeling lowly or less than, but just to have a moderate expression of humanity, you know, at heart. Even with all that you experience yourself to be, or express yourself to be graceful, in a word. To be wise, to be discerning, to be compassionate, to be gracious, you know, all those things that were learned here when there was, you know, when the stakes really weren't all that high, when you didn't even know what you were learning, let alone what you may have even been tested on, made all the difference as to how much I should say how well you do now, having matriculated into some mastery of sorts, even as, like, you know, maybe a baby master, you know, and not because you don't know or that you're not capable, but just because you've never been so self-aware to actualize yourself as the master that you are. You've never had the full scope of awareness, facility, ability, intensity, power, frequency, intel, like everything on one accord. You may have had a sprinkle here, a sprinkle there, or one's turned on, one's turned off at different times. But to now have everything on one accord, the whole of you activated, it's going to be like, it may feel like, you know, like a lightning bolt surging through your body. Like, whoa, what is this? Your vision may start to pulsate and see things that maybe actually, but more so in the sense of you being able to conceptualize things that you never did before, seeing even realities in between the lines of projections and propaganda, and just even the expression of your own passion, like everything. How can I liken it? It's like, you know what it's like? Oh my gosh, it's like that movie Lucy. Oh, and I just heard a crack again. I think that's my water, but it's really weird because it's on the floor, so there's no reason for it to be cracking. It's like that movie Lucy, where your senses are being, I don't even know what that was called, but where there's certain activations that were perhaps dormant before are now fully accessible online and like ready, all systems ready to go. You've never experienced yourself that way before. That's new. That's new. And some people, as I said, and maybe many people are being activated in this with like being like infused with this lightning bolt type of frequency, but some people didn't prepare their being for it, which means that it may feel like an overload or overwhelm. Some may feel it's so foreign and strange that they want to reject it, like get this off of me, like almost like, could become a little bit emotionally or psychologically imbalanced on a part of it. Some could, in fact, damage, I'm talking all over lower vibration right now. Some could, in fact, damage themselves or others because of their recklessness with that activated energy. Some have already more or less, deactivated themselves on account of decisions they made when we were in the beta testing. That's a good way to put it. Like it was a beta test of energy and power. And some have pretty much like have taken themselves offline because now, sad to say, they're under a different frequency possession that is not aligned with this energy. So it's like not being like their circuit board is what is it, like washed out or drowned, like something is like an overload or something. There's something about a circuit board and like water, like it's malfunctioned because of what they've attached themselves to. So whereas some people in the highest vibration are receiving these upgrades, and of course there's still a balancing that gets to happen with how you manage it, it still should feel far more exhilarating and exciting if you've cultivated, you prepped yourself for it a certain way, than terrifying. So there may be varying ranges of experience here, which is probably why I'm saying it's going to be so unique and so specific. And that's probably the need for the heightened, for the heightened security, because that full range right there, imagine a world where in a second, and I don't know if that's how it gets to be, like if it's that instantaneous where it's like somebody flips the switch and everybody comes online. I don't know if that's how it is. It may be like a wave or waves of sorts that this is already happening. Probably why I was sensing that overlap of time where some people are on this wave, some people are on that, and so on and so forth. But we're all sharing this creative consciousness together. So, you could be having your high vibe experience and your neighbor could be on the other end of the wheel. That could be problematic energetically if you're not spiritually protected, even psychologically so, to ground yourself a certain way, not to be impressed or influenced by what you see, what you see and what you hear, and like that. We had to push through that. That's the frequency of victory here, because you had the strength and the will, the power, the courage, all that good stuff to get through a lot of that interference, energetic interference, to get to this very point in the first place. Now it's just the continuum of that, but that also with a heightened energetic expression. So given even more reason to stay connected to whatever you submit to as spiritual guidance, energetic, what's the right word? Intel, all that. You know what I'm trying to say. If you know, you know. If I gotta really say it all, then you don't know. So I don't even know what to advise on in that regard at this time, because I feel so much more enlivened about the highest vibration of this experience that I don't even really want to get into the other, quite honestly. But that's the point. That's the purpose or the need for the heightened level of security, because all of that's going to be going on. You can't, it's like we can't escape the universal space that we share. And while your experience may be one, someone else's may be another. So even as you are, there's a heightened level of security, intangibly so, spiritually so, there also is a call to arms, so to speak, for you to secure your own spiritual space that much more intentionally, so that there's a tandem co-creativity of security happening here, of insurance. Okay. Let's see, let's get a couple more. I did so much talking. Woo, lovers. Lovers card, yes, baby. Come through. Let's see. Ooh. Moon card, clear across the room. Clear across the room. Not too far, thankfully. Moon card, deep emotions, psychic intuition. Well, that's all that I was saying, pretty much. And then the synergy of like-minded folks, maybe even telepathy, or just deep spiritual communication, energetic exchanges, like intel going on here between yourself and your supreme self. Source, as I said, like this is that expression right here, that commitment to supreme, whatever and however and how high ever that may be. It's important to be connected to something, particularly beyond what is merely grounded and on this earth plane, I would say, because what's happening on the earth plane might be a bit obscure from what your soul knows to be true. May even be a bit mystical. You know, especially, I mean, this whole message has been more or less on some otherworldly, not even otherworldly, because we right here, we here, and we ain't going nowhere. It's just, I don't know what to call it. Supernatural feels too fantastical of a word. Like you wouldn't even take that seriously. Like, oh yeah, okay, supernatural. It's like something extra dimensional. Ah, okay. Extra dimensional. Not extraterrestrial, because that's, again, otherworldly. It's here, it's in this space, but maybe it's the magnification of multiple dimensions, and that's the convergence of one. And also the condensing of the time. I don't know. It's something like that, though. The condensation of time. I don't even know if that's the right word, but I like how it sounds. Let's see what else we got here. Got a flip. I'm gonna take the High Priestess. High Priestess. And honestly, I don't even feel guided to take that. So I'm not. Then don't. You don't. Because this is, you saw what was on the top. I don't feel guided to take this, but I mean, because the energy is just so off. And like I said, like, I don't want to talk about those that, these are the energies that want to be acknowledged. You know, these dense energies that want to have life, and they just don't have place here. They don't have value in what I'm talking about. This is the that's, if anything, that's what's being left behind as we're moving forward into this new cycle, this new frequency. That doesn't live there. That don't live there, honey. It doesn't have a place to survive or thrive. But the High Priestess, absolutely. That makes sense. Jeez. I mean, I wonder, is it me? Are these cards really forever going to be this slippery? Like, because I'm doing the best I can, but it's like, ooh. Let's give it another whirl. Bear with me here. Oh, let's see what that is. The Temperance, exactly, balancing out those energies. And what else? And the Magician. Now that's more like it, to be able to transmute. And honestly, where we're going, the transmutation is more so happening on account of what you see, not so much on what you actually experience, because with this new surge of energy, like I said, it's like, imagine you being jolted by a light, like and think about this in a practical sense and in a spiritual sense, or a super, like a sci-fi type of sense. You being jolted by a lightning rod, right? You were struck by lightning. To actually survive that would give you a whole new perspective of life, you know, a whole new leash on life. Like a whole new idea. If you got struck by lightning, first of all, that's a 1 in a million type of situation, and you actually survived, even slimmer chances, that would literally put you in a position to like live your life completely different than you did before that moment. You know, it would be a different energetic boost, and I don't know, like inspiration. You know, a thrill to now go on about life, first of all, because you never know when such a thing could ever happen again, you know, and also with a certain empowered mindset that, wow, not only did that happen to me, but I survived it, so there must be something special about me. There's not really a place for dense energies like fear, and I mean, it could if you wanted to reach for it. I guess that's the difference between how people revere this experience. But I'm talking in the highest vibration, though, you know, that somebody that sees themselves as blessed on account of that experience to some degree, where it's like you what's there to be depressed about? What's there to be fearful of? Like, you would get up living each day like it should last on account of an experience like that. You would do all the things that you put on hold on account of an experience like that. You know, you would say all the things you ever held your tongue to say, or believe for all the things that you always thought weren't possible. Like that type of vibe in the practical sense. In the spiritual sense, it's like truly the energy is going to be so hot, let's just say, because I don't know who's on this wave and who's not at this point. This could be real time experience, where this, as a matter of fact, to the point of my message yesterday, one thing I failed to say in the spirit of that message was through that timeline portal, so to speak, or that opportunity of a lifetime that allows you to timeline jump or accelerate the timeline for yourself or for your lineage, you could have already had that engaging moment. I never really got a chance to say that when I listened back to it. I was speaking as if it was something that was approaching or on the horizon, but you could have taken a timeline jumping opportunity, like that once in a lifetime David and Goliath moment already passed, that has accelerated you to the point of being prepared for this synergy, whereas maybe you weren't necessarily on the trajectory to be in line for it at this time. Maybe it would have happened for you in another 10 years or 20 or whatever. So that could have happened. It could be happening. It could happen, I should say, or it could be happening right now in this moment. But the point is, with the High Priestess here, the Moon card, it's just something that can't really be explained. As you see, I struggle to explain it. It's something to be experienced, and it may not even be something that can be expressed clearly to those that are not, even for those that may be having a similar experience, because every experience is so unique, as it is here with the Magician card and even the High Priestess. It's like you can't even really properly articulate what's happening to you, through you, around you. You can only try to synergize with those that may be able to relate to some degree, but it still wouldn't be like a pound for pound reflection, and you couldn't necessarily corroborate your stories by experience, so to speak, because they're so unique. And that's divinely designed, because what you've aligned yourself for by way of this insurgence is going to be different than what the next man did, whether you're on the top of the wheel, the middle, or the bottom, But here's the Temperance card, which is the alchemy of each experience, and that's the energy that would precede, that I should say would supersede that Five of Cups. Those dense energies don't stand a chance in the vitality of the Temperance and the Magician, where you can literally alchemize any emotional or spiritual experience that you're having and turn it into real life energy, or even matter, something prosperous that matters for that matter. It's like, who has time for the Five of Cups to be depressed and shameful and guilty and vengeful and unforgiving and worried, and who has time for that? That's kind of what I was saying in regards to being struck by lightning. That's the actual aspect of it, all that I said. But the spiritual aspect is that this is the power that you're operating in, where it's like even the worst of your experiences, you find some way to make it make sense, to let it have value, to create, to take that energy and ultimately transmute it into some productive life force fuel that would give you the passion and the drive to then manifest it into something materially valuable. It literally becomes gasoline for the flames, if you feel me. And then with the High Priestess here, that's a matter of being able not only to have grace for yourself, but grace for others, grace for the situation, while staying devout and sacred to Supreme Self and Source. Ain't no Five of Cups living here. It's not possible. And then don't get me started on having a partnership or being in, union perhaps with someone that's matching that vibe, or in situations where, like I said, maybe everything isn't an identical match, although this begs to differ with the Lover's card to some degree. But there's so much synergy there that you feel at home, you feel at ease, you feel validated, you feel secure. Again, like you begin to almost secure yourself by way of your surroundings and the company that you keep, what you're magnetizing to yourself to affirm your, not just your spiritual ground, but your physical ground, like your surroundings. It's literally like the makings of your own world here. Whereas things may still be topsy-turvy elsewhere and otherwise, but this is like, that's why I had to get that Five of Cups out of here, because this is the reality of the life that you lead. Top flight security is a necessity. Let's just get one more. I almost hate to because I don't want to fuck it up. But can I? Let's see what we got. Well, I'll be. That's the manifestation of the energy in the most physical form you could, and the most supreme form you could possibly have it. The Ace of Pentacles. The gift that keeps on giving. The ultimate seed, the ultimate gift, manifestation that is infinitely abundant. That's what you're working with here. That's look at this. I love the line up here, don't you? With the Wheel of Fortune, that's the fortune. That's the fortune. Oh my God. Not just the physical. I mean, it's like solidifying every aspect. Because here's the work. So the passion is there. You're not void of passion. The cups I love are coming from the Temperance, which means it's just so balanced and fluid and harmonious, in alignment with the celestial order, not against it. That's the best cups that you want to have, other than the Ace, which is the overflow. But you also have the Magician, who has all the elements, literally can work with any element and make it make sense, and it be sensational at that. You got partnership, or perhaps even love on the board. You already, like I say, you already had the victory and success. Strength's been solidified. It's going to be a passionate new beginning, something that that's going to be exhilarating, and that's also protected and guided. And here is the evidence for it all with the Ace of Pentacles. This is the expression by way of not just the business, this is the enterprise. Not just the love, but the legacy. Not just the finances, but the fortune. Okay? What did I miss? I said love, I said pentacles. Not just the inspiration or the idea, but the vision, and even beyond that, it's the clairvoyance, like the foresight to see beyond just now. And then the passion expounded in that regard, because when you have the physical evidence that your passion was well invested, that just intensifies the source of passion to begin with. It makes you even more enthusiastic, even more excited, even more inspired to keep going and to get better. Hence why it's like this full card energy, where it's like infinite new beginnings, always being incited or inspired to do something new, or to stretch out in some new territory, or follow some new adventure, but well guided though. That's what I love about the Hermit card leading the way, because it's like, it's not just flying off the seat of your pants. It's like you're being led, you're literally being called into new territories, to charter, to explore and expand in uncharted territories for the purposes of conquering new lands. That's the word I couldn't think of yesterday, conquering. And here is the evidence. It's like it's the foreshadowing and also the prophecy. Or no, this is like, I mean to say like the past tense of what you've already proven yourself to be capable of, and also the prophecy. That's what I mean to say, because this is literally all you do is win. That's the message. All you do is win. That's the turnover of events. That's the energy we've never felt before, to just constantly win. All you do is win, no matter what. No matter what's happening in your neighbor's home, no matter what's happening in distant family or intimate family, no matter what's happening. Now, how you align yourself with it, that's a different story, because you can align yourself with other people's misfortune, and it would absolutely matter in your life, and it would absolutely make an impact. That's a different conversation. I'm talking about where there is the reason for the security, really being in a position to erect very stringent boundaries regarding who, what, and how, and all the other things is connected and in contact with this fortune as it unfolds. That is a matter of maximum security here. That's important. But providing you are in alignment, as you should be, with how you're being called to protect yourself, the winning is the thing that is it's foreign territory. To not have to worry about when the other shoe is going to drop, or if something's going to fail, or if you should take this risk, or if you should connect with this creator. Like your world is going to be cultivated, seed again, in such a way that you won't have to think so hard about the leaps of faith that you are being. I just see this wonderful image of just this like spirit guiding you through the crowds, and you're just like a happy child playing in the background, like all of creation is like your playground, and you're not even phased. You know how kids are, they be playing around in the store, and you're like, chill. You're aware of everything, what they bumping into, who they could bump into, what they could break. But this is like, you don't have to parent yourself that way anymore, because you did to a certain degree with wisdom, is why you get to be able to play a little bit more freely, probably a lot bit more freely now, with the spiritual support and security that you have, kind of like, making sure that the way is clear and everything is safe for you to do so. That's astounding. I don't think in this moment, even as I'm saying this, that I can wrap my head around what that truly looks like. What I'm going to meditate on, though, is how that would feel. How that would feel to literally just go about life like, do. The world is my playground, and what am I going to do today? And what am I going to create today? And like almost playing life with life. Like, you know how you play house, like, like playing life with creation or something. I don't know, but it's something about that here. And like I said, I don't have the intellect to wrap my mind, like my intellect has not caught up with my imagination to full. That's what this is here. That's what that is. to fully be able to conceive of that reality. But by God, I believe for it. And if you feel enlivened by the sheer thought of that at all, I encourage you to meditate on it, to think about, like I kind of put it in the terms with the lightning bolt, like what would you really do with a certain surge of energy that basically makes you limitless, first of all, and shows you your unlimitedness because of the rate of your survival, the miraculousness of your survival, and also the rarity of your experience. All of that. And then to see the physical evidence in that regard of what you get to do now. It's like, how Spider-Man gets bit by the spider. Like, imagine that lightning bolt insurging you in such a way where you literally have like sparks in your hands that bring things to life, or literally make matter out of thin air, like that type of energy. Maybe not just like that, but something like it. I'm not saying it for no reason. It's a huge jump from the reality that we're used to the super real that we are absolutely not. That seems quite fantastical. What would you do if somehow the supernatural was quite natural and you were an expression of that reality? What one power, maybe start with the meditation of what one power you would want to embody, how you would use it, how you would govern yourself with that. Maybe that would be a practical starting point if you can't wrap your head around the idea. What would you do? I believe there's a reason for the contemplation. Hierophant. It's like the supernatural is going to be conventional, a conventional, traditional way of life. Like, it won't be anything strange. Yeah, like your own little garden, your own little world, independent. This is like sovereign energy, maybe even existing outside of the conventions of society to some degree, but eventually society not being able to be helped, but to be influenced by it. Not so much the other way around anymore as it was. That's the shifting. That's the transition. That once upon a time we tried to fit into this box. Now it's a matter of how we get to influence that evolution. And it may be resistant to the change. I'm not saying it's overnight where everybody's going to fall in line. That's not, it may feel a bit like a solitary experience at times, depending on where you are in the journey. But certainly, the influence is inevitable. This way to that. Where the way of the world as it was won't be able to help but succumb to the supernatural. Wow. It's like real life comic book stuff out here. Marvel. Yeah. Real life Marvel activity. Well, what superhero are you? What's your power? What's your kryptonite? Or your, whatever that, what's your nemesis? Might be important to know that too, as a matter of protection. so that you can stay devoted to whatever that super expression of you is. Yeah, cool stuff. All right, well, I'm going to leave it there. I'm almost positive you probably can't see down here, but you know what's down here, right? So I'm gonna leave it there. I should have lifted everything up a little bit. Yeah, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Certainly this may not resonate with everyone that taps in, but it can. Let me just assure you that it can. And if you have any desire or nudge at all for it to make sense to you in a way that it may not, then I encourage you again to meditate and pray on what this message may be revealing about your divine identity, which is ultimately what we're talking about here. Super this, super that. Is what you are divinely designed to be and do and have in this lifetime. Everyone is privy to that reality one way or another. As long as you have breath in your body, you can get there, you can have it. You know, it's possible. Is far more supernatural and fantastical than we've been conditioned to believe that it is. As a matter of fact, that was not for nothing to keep us from believing that it was even attainable to become, was the point, so that we wouldn't. And now creation has accelerated in such a way that we can't help but to be. So I pray that you do so freely and wisely in that regard. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.